I'm tired. I'm so tired. We'll go to sleep. Oh, oh. This is not comfortable at all. I know. Have a shop. I'll build a bed. Let's see. Get some wood. That. I'll do some plywood. Some more plywood. Alright, let's see if that's better. Oh. Oh. That's worse. If only I knew a way to build a bed. What if someone could make like a, what do you call it? Like a plan? A guide? Wait a minute. Bed plans. I know what I'll do. I'll build this bed.
We're going to move through this fairly quickly. Nobody wants to see me doing the same thing over and over and over again. So we're going to start off with the miter saw and get all of the parts cut to length.
Okay, I am through with the miter saw for now. Got some boards here. Got all of these. And got some more right here. But I cut one wrong. So I'm short a 2x6. And I just rough cut these, so I've got to go back through, rip a bunch of these down, add roundovers to a lot of them, and some pocket holes. And then I still have to cut the piece of plywood. So let's keep going.
And now to the table saw. First I'm going to set up for a 45-degree cut using my trusty Wixie gauge. These are a must-have for any shop. If you don't have one, check out a link below in the description. Now, going to cut a couple of test pieces. With test pieces cut, I get to move on to the real thing. And back to the miter saw to cut out the dog ears for the fence pickets. Just going to measure down a 1/2 inch, measure in a 1/2 inch on each side, give me a 45-degree angle. And with a chop, a flip, and a chop, we have a fence picket. There are exactly 8,729 pocket holes in this project. So let's get out the new Ryobi router table, get it set up. I've got to build a stand for it, but that'll come later. In the meantime, you can check out a unboxing and review video that I did a week or two ago. I'll drop a link in the description. I am so glad I got this thing. I can't even imagine how long this would have taken to do with a trim router. There is exactly 8.9 miles of roundovers in this project. Now I have to sand all of this. Ladies and gentlemen, there is the look of a man that hates his life. I'm sanding with the door open so this shot looks bad. Now I'm sanding some more. I'm sanding while second guessing my life choices. I'm sanding while wishing someone would sneak up behind me and hit me in the head with a hammer. On a lighter note, I call this the behind the back, aka the pool sharp. This is the contortionist. This is the taking a nap. This is the downward facing dog. And my personal favorite, the sneak attack. After all of that sanding, it's time for a coffee break. And yes, the top of your head is the proper place to keep your RZ mask while not in use. Now that that is done, let's start building. Don't make fun of my mallet. It actually works extremely well, and I've used it for a very long time. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to build 3 sides of the base. And I'm going to do that so that I can measure and cut my plywood to be exact. That way I don't have any surprises when I start putting this together. I'm going to start by cutting this to length. Just so I got a good cut, good straight edge. I'm going to use my Craig AccuCut. If you want to know more about it, I've got a link in the description of a review that I did. Next, I'm going to cut this to width using my Craig RipCut. This is the point that I did something stupid. If you don't know what it is I have just done, check out the video on the review of this RipCut and you'll see me tell you not to do exactly what I have just done. If you're looking for someone on YouTube that has all their ducks in a row and does everything perfect, then I'm not the one to watch. This is me improvising after I couldn't find my small pocket hole jig. Next, I'm going to put the plywood in on the base. If you guys are getting any value out of this, go ahead and hit that like button. And while you're at it, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and ring that bell so you can see what we've got coming up next. Okay, let's start building the headboard. First thing I did was rip a couple of spacers so that when I pocket hole all of these runners into the uprights, they'll all be nice and flush. Starting 3.5 inches from the top, you will see why later, and just screw them in. And it's square! Lay it down, screw it in. Lay it down, screw it in. Drink coffee, lay it down, screw it in. 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 Drink coffee, lay it down, screw it in. Well, that was repetitive, but it worked. Let's build the back trim for this. This is more or less just to keep those slats from bowing or giving in the middle, just to kind of stiffen everything up. Even though I think it looks kind of cool, nobody will ever see it. It'll be up against the wall. Alright, let's get started putting this window frame together. I didn't want to pocket hole screw this thing together the way that I did with the back trim, because in the past I've had trouble with these small pieces wanting to twist with only one screw in them, and I just didn't have room for more than one screw, so my best option was to just lay it out in place. So for a little bit of randomness here, does anyone watching this ever have songs stuck in their head? I have had a song in my head all day long, and it's a ridiculous song, and I can't stop singing it. It is Sandcastles in the Sand by Robin Scherbatsky. So if anyone gets that reference, leave a comment down in the comment section and let me know. So randomness aside, let's get back to the bed. What I'm doing here is I put the top piece where I wanted it. I put one side piece with just one brad nail at the top. Then I'm going to put the other one in and I put the centerpiece in before I put the bottom. You want to do it that way because if your centerpiece is even just a 30/2 of an inch too long, you're going to have problems getting that in place. Once you're comfortable that everything is square and everything is where it's supposed to be, just go through with some brad nails and put it in place. Once everything is in place and brad nailed down, just grab you a trim router with a round over and just knock down all of the edges. There you have it, a headboard in all of its glory. Okay, let's start building the top frame. This is going to attach to the headboard and the foot post, and the rest of the top is going to mount on top of this. So here's a useful tip. I do have those from time to time. If your board is a little twisted, you can take a squeeze clamp and twist it into place until you get it screwed, and then it's straight. Let's get started on this top shelf thingamabobber. I don't know what it actually called. I've never seen anything like this before. I was just making up stuff as I drew it out on SketchUp. I hate Milwaukee tools. If you want to know why, check out the review I did on this drill set. They're terrible. Okay, time to put the top shelf onto the top frame. So for another useful tip, once I got this top shelf centered and where I wanted it, I took these F-style clamps and put one on each side and one at the end on each side. That way I could slide it off, put the glue on, put it back in place without having to completely re-center it. Seems like I'm just full of useful, helpful tips today. If you watch enough of my videos, you may or may not actually learn something. Now I'm gonna nail it down with some 16 gauge finish nails before I lay out my screw pattern and screw it in with some 1 5/8" deck screws. More coffee. Next up, routering the edges. Router the edges, routering. Which one is it? Next up, the rafters. A little helpful tip here. When you're putting these two together, whichever side is facing you that you're screwing into, make that proud by about 1/8 of an inch, because when you screw that together, it's going to slide down about 1/8 of an inch. And if you start off a little proud, then it will all be flush. I'm using 2 drill bits here because my flush trim bit is not long enough for the 4-inch screws that I'm using. So before you tell me that this is wrong and that I'm stupid because rafters are supposed to hang over the side, I do know this, but I didn't want any sharp edges at eye level for my granddaughter or my grandsons or her friends to run into and poke your eye out. So the same thing here as with putting the rafters together. I'm going to start this over about 1/8 of an inch before I drill my holes with 2 drill bits and attach them with a 4-inch screw. Repeat that process 4 more times and we can start adding the roof slats. The roof slats are simple. I'm going to take them and take this first one, make it flush with the top of the top shelf, And then I'm just going to repeat that process several more times. The only thing left on the top is to flip it over and add some screws from the top shelf into the bottom of each rafter. We're moving along. Let's build a picket fence. So what I did is I took each fence rail, I clamped them together, I measured out my spaces based on my plans, I drew a line for each side of each picket and did that all the way down. For the pickets themselves, I basically did the exact same thing. I measured top and bottom, got a top and bottom position for each rail, laid them out with a speed square, and then I took that piece and used it to transfer those lines to the other pieces. You want to use the very first one so that you don't compound any errors as you move across. Now all you have to do is use a little glue and attach them with a 16 gauge finish gun. Now what I feel is the most rewarding part of a project, and that is pre-assembly. We're going to start with the headboard. I'm going to attach the headboard with 2 screws on each side along with 3 screws along the back. Next I'm going to attach the footboard post maybe with 2 screws on each side. If you've watched any of my other videos, you will know that I have a tendency to overdo things. And in this case, I am adding 2 1/2" by 4.5" carrier bolts to each corner. Now I have to get this into the floor. My roof, there's like a false roof right above my assembly table that's only about 8 feet tall. It's got some storage up there, so it's a little too low for the top to go onto the bed where it is. So I have to get it onto the bed by myself because I'm a one-man shop and there's no one here to help me. Again, being a one-person shop here, I have to do everything by myself. This top is very heavy, but I kind of have to wrestle it into place by myself. I took my shoes off because I made the mistake of stepping inside of it and left a shoe print from dirt in my floor. So, will it fit? Is it gonna make it? Yes. Okay guys, we are almost done. Gonna put these braces in with 2 screws at the top and 1 4-inch screw at the bottom. Well guys, this is it. Last step. All we have to do is install this picket fence and we are done.
Okay guys, it is together. Let's take it apart, paint it, deliver it, put it back together again.
Okay guys, if you've made it this far, type the word bananas in the comment section below. That will confuse all the people who didn't watch it to the end. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure you hit the thumbs up, and if you click on one of these videos, I'll see you over there in a minute.